これが私のホワイトスネークの能力。
2、3、5、7、11、13、17、19。素数は一度自分の数でしか割ることのできない孤独な数字。空城城太郎、娘がお前の弱点なのだ。
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has some really cool characters, like a sword, I guess? It also has some really cool human characters with some super compelling protagonists and antagonists. And one character who always really stood out to me was the antagonist of Part 6, Pucci. Quick disclaimer, I have not finished Part 7 yet, and I haven't even touched Parts 8 or 9, so if their villains do what Pucci does but better, just pretend that they don't. For all intents and purposes, this is an anime only video. Also, I probably don't need to say this, but there will be spoilers for Stone Ocean and also some of the other JoJo's parts in this video, so you've been warned. Also, I will be briefly mentioning the death of Perla, who is Pucci's sister. If you've watched or read Stone Ocean, you know what's happening, so stay safe. You know yourself. Okay, back to the topic. First things first, I do kind of hate this guy. He killed my favorite JoJo. It's not cool, man. However, he does make a really good villain. So, who is Pucci? Chances are, if you click on this, you already know who he is anyway, but I will give you a quick refresher. Pucci is a priest and also an incredibly devoted Dio stan. Like, if this was set in, I don't know, 2020 or 2021, he definitely have like a Twitter fan page or like a bunch of fan cams and stuff, which would be kind of weird considering they met up a bunch, but you know what would happen. He is kind of insane, he is beyond dedicated to his goals, and he also really likes prime numbers. Not composite ones though. To be honest, the biggest reason why I like Pucci more than the other villains is that he is different. All the JoJo's villains are really good, but Pucci just has something extra to bring to the table, and that is the fact that he didn't start out as a terrible person. The other villains don't really have any somewhat tragic backstories. You could say Diavolo, Doppio, or Diavolo, Doppio, depending on how you want to pronounce it, is a pretty tragic backstory for that character, and you'd be right. But if we're really getting into it, it's more of a tragic backstory for Doppio as opposed to Diavolo/Diavolo. I see people pronounce it differently all the time, so I just like to mix it up, you know? And Diavolo's issues with Trish and the rest of the gang, but mostly Trish, are purely selfish. There's no sympathetic backstory for that at all. And yeah, Dio had a sad childhood, but he's kind of just like that. Like, his whole point is to be the purest of evil there is. The Pillarmen, kind of just like that. Kira, kind of just like that. Pucci is a little more complicated than that. Parts of his villain origin story are actually pretty reasonable. You know, if I found out that my sister was dating our biological brother and had no idea who he was, but I couldn't tell her, I'd try to break them up as well. Of course, if you have watched or read Stone Ocean, you know that his way of doing this was absolutely terrible. Someone who Pucci enlisted to help break these two up had ties or was in the KKK, cannot remember off the top of my head. However, after discovering that Weather's mother was in an interracial relationship, they used this as an excuse to beat up Weather almost to death and prompted Perla to kill herself. Neither of these things are very good, and definitely not what directing would have been to do, but also not what Pucci was going for, which adds a whole nother layer to his character. So while these two terrible events did come as a result of Pucci's interference, it is still a much more sympathetic backstory than Diavolo's broken condom. The thing with most JoJo's villains is that they're villainous, you know, and they're well aware of that. Dio is supposed to be the incarnate of pure evil, and the Pillarmen try to wipe out all Hamon users. And while ACDC and Wamuu were pretty honourable with their fights, Kara's just being like a little bitch about it. That's not a diss at Kars as a villain, by the way. Super cool villain, I just kind of hate the guy. Kira never tries to justify his murder streams, and Diavolo's just doing what he's doing for purely selfish reasons. Pucci is different. He genuinely believes what he's doing is for the best of humanity. He has no idea that he's the villain. In fact, he is so convinced that what he's doing is for the best of the world that he's completely okay with the idea of dying as long as he gets his work done first. Pucci's motivation for what he does is to better humanity, although his idea of bettering humanity might be very misguided. So because of Dio's influence, he has become totally convinced that your fate is set and there's nothing that you can do to change it, and the only thing you can do is embrace it, which is why he speeds up time so that people will know what their fate is and embrace it. This version from other JoJo's villains is what makes Pucci really unique to watch. Even though Pucci is kind of a terrible person and I hate him, the fact that he does not care about money or power or giving into personal desires really just sets him apart. The fact that he just wants to bring the world to what he thinks heaven is just makes him like super interesting. He is a terrible person, in my opinion, that believes he is genuinely doing everything for good. He is just such a conflicting guy, and that's what makes him such a compelling character. Pucci's greatest weakness is his skull, apparently. Like, for real, imagine beating up, killing 2 Joestars, only to get absolutely domed by some kid in a baseball shirt. I'd be really, really mad. And also really, really embarrassed. Like, come on, man, you can do better. My man was so committed to bringing his idea of heaven to earth that he did this by any means necessary. My brother in Christ quite literally murders against the Bible. Due to Dio's influences, he is so convinced that his idea is right, and he is so tunnel visioned in on his, well, it's Dio's idea, but his idea being the only right way, that he is willing to screw over and or kill anyone to get to this. Okay, so moral questionability aside, Pucci stands are cool as fuck, okay? Like, tree stands are very nice. While we have seen this before with Kira when he had Sheer Heart Attack, Bite the Dust, and Stray Cat, as well as Killer Queen, they were kind of like DLC to Killer Queen. Whereas Pucci stands are like whole new releases. First of all, we got White Snake, who just, you know, takes your memories and your stand ability on a little disc. And then we do a total 180 and get Sea Moon, who can not only just flip gravity, he can also turn you inside out. Which is kind of scary, but also an incredibly cool ability. And then we do a 270, and we get Made in Heaven, who speeds up time a lot. And if you want to count the Green Baby, although technically it is its own stand user, but, you know, Pucci does fuse with the Green Baby, you do another 180, and you got a Green Baby. That's pretty cool. Good for you. I'm happy for you. All of these stands are incredibly unique designs and abilities, and they make him super interesting. And it also means you have to stay invested and stay focused on the show to keep up with all this change. Please, please, please do not throw stones at me for calling it a show. I know it's an anime. I know some people prefer you like say anime or manga as opposed to show because it's more like generic, I guess. But you know what I mean. Okay. Personally, I think White Snake is the coolest. That is just me though. So maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think I'm insane. Maybe you're going to come take my memory discs for saying that. Please don't take them. I have a terrible memory as is, so I'd like to keep what I have. Pucci's determination to carry out Dio's plan and his insistence in thinking that he is correct is what makes him so interesting to watch. And his stand evolution is also very cool, very nice. I used that already, but I'm gonna use it again. Overall, I just think that he's a really entertaining villain. Now, whether or not you agree with me is totally up to you, and if you have a different villain as your favorite JoJo's villain, I would love to hear who and/or why. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go speed up time.